What prisons have you been to around the UK in those years?
So in 2003, we were originally sent to Highdown in Surrey, Sutton. We spent about 10 days there. Our case was at the Old Bailey, so we were never staying there because Highdown doesn't serve the Old Bailey.
Yeah.
So we knew we were going to Belmarsh. Went there, did 2 years in Belmarsh, then I did 4 years in Swellside, and I've done Highdown, Belmarsh, Swellside, and another 10 prisons over the 2 sentences.
Can you name those other 10?
Yeah. So after Swellside, I did 3 months in Maidstone. Then I went to Coldingley. After Coldingley, I went to Stamford Hill Open Prison. I got thrown out of there after 5 months. Did about a week in Elmley next door. Then I was ghosted to High Point in Suffolk. I did a night in Chelmsford on the way to Suffolk. Got my face cut on the first day in High Point and got moved out of there after about a week, and did my last 9 months in Edmonds Hill, which is now called High Point North. And on the second sentence, I did 3 years in Highdown. Then I went to Coldingley, got security shipped out of Coldingley after a false allegation that I was planning an escape attempt. I was driven in chains and an E-list suit to Pentonville, and I did 9 months in the Ville, which was horrific, awful jail. From there I went to Onley up in Rugby in Warwickshire, and then I came back down to Stamford Hill Open Prison, got thrown out of there after 15 months and finished my second sentence in Elmley. I did my last 6 months in Elmley, and that's it. So, I've done a few.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
What are you getting thrown out for?
I got thrown out of Stamford Hill the first time because I was just bang at it in there. I was selling everything: steroids, phones, spice, protein, drink, and I was flagrant as well. I kind of was at a point where I didn't even care. I was doing my other stuff from in there as well, which was more important. But I didn't care because I'd done so long that I just thought, I'm going home in 5 minutes anyway. Do what you want with me. I don't care. I got thrown out of Coldingley because somebody in there got caught collecting a parcel that had been thrown over the fence. The parcel had a pair of wire cutters in. They told security that they were for me. It's a complete lie. I didn't even know the person. I wasn't planning an escape. And I got put on the E-list for that and moved to Pentonville. And that was a kick in the balls because, see, when I'm guilty of something, I hold my hands up. I take it on the chin. That fucked my sentence up, and it ruined a lot of things for me, and I'd done nothing wrong. I even said to the governor when they told me, you're now on the escape list, I said, I went to hospital 5 miles away 2 weeks ago. Why wouldn't I have done a runner from there? It's easy. You're talking about me scaling fences and cutting wire and all this bollocks. I said, ultimately, you know this isn't true. And he didn't say anything, but it wasn't. They knew it wasn't true. I wasn't even upgraded in security. I thought I'd go to Belmarsh. Yeah. And I asked them, I said, so what, we're talking Belmarsh, aren't we? And they went, no, not necessarily. I remained a CCAT. They knew that it was bullshit, but the prison service has to act. It's an escape allegation. It's the most serious thing because it makes them look shit when someone does walk out. So I get it, and I did get it, and I said to them, look, I understand, but you know this is bullshit. And they did, but they never admitted it.
Why is Pentonville so brutal out of all of them?
Pentonville was built and opened in 1842, so it's nearly 200 years old, and it hasn't had a lick of paint since it was opened. It's full of rats, mice, cockroaches. It's a hardcore jail. There's postcode wars in there. Wings are separated. I didn't like a lot of the screws in there. They were bullies and thought they could be I don't know. It was just the whole thing. And obviously I was probably smarting from why I'd ended up there. I mean, the first cell they put me in had the toilet was leaking. I was walking around in an inch of water every day on the floor, and they just left me in there for about 2 weeks. It was a bad first impression, and it didn't really get any better. And my toilet broke in the cell that they eventually moved me to, and it took about 4 weeks for them to come and fix the flush on my toilet.
Is that all building up just to make you more angry and piss you off even more?
I don't really know. I used to think that they would do things like that, and probably to an extent they do. I'm not. Maybe they give a little bit of diesel therapy, as it's called in America. I don't know. They'd never admit anything, but it was just a rotten jail, Pentonville. I saw stabbings in there, people getting cut, little gangs of young kids running around robbing people, and just I wasn't really used to that. On my first sentence, I did those 2 years and 4 years in Belmarsh and Swellside with what I would call proper villains, especially in Swellside. Yeah. Where I was on a wing where everyone on there was a fella, and we didn't have all that shenanigans, none of it. Yeah, there might be a fight here and there, but that's just people falling out. Fight, shake hands, move on.
So how have you seen it change then? How do you see it from your second sentence change from fellas, geezers who have been doing whatever they've done? There's a code, right? Yeah. How did you see it the second time, that code changing?
I think there are two major factors in it. This is how I saw it then, and bear in mind I went to prison the second time with severe traumatic brain injury, but as I started to recover, I would look at how things were, and the way I put it quite quickly was that unlike my first sentence, now the tail was wagging the dog. Prisoners who scream and shout enough get what they want, and that would never happen. You get wrapped up and chucked in the block back in my first sentence, and I kind of liked it that way. You knew where you stood. I'm not a person to stand stamping my feet and threatening screws. It's just not in my nature to be like that. If I'm going to ping you, I'll just ping you. I'm not sending you a letter to inform you of my intentions, So Spice has had a massive impact, definitely. And the fact that they offered voluntary redundancy in 2013 as part of the credit crunch. And a lot of the old school screws who knew how things worked and knew how to keep everything on a reasonable level.
They were getting out.
They were gone.
Yeah, okay.
And now we had a bunch of shelf stackers from Aldi. And no disrespect to people who stack shelves at Aldi, but screws are trained for about 6 weeks. It's bullshit. People wonder why the prison system doesn't work, why we've got reoffending rates through the roof. You get nothing in there except locked up. And for example, in Scandinavian country like Norway, a prison officer's training is 2 years and you have to have a degree. They treat people like human beings. There's genuine rehabilitation opportunities. And guess what? Norway's reoffending rate is minuscule.
Yeah. Did you come across Jules Shipton at all in your time?
The name rings a bell, but
prison officer. Really well respected.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether I was in a prison that he was in.
Really well respected, lovely fella.
He was on that program, Banged Up.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast.
Yeah, I know,
real nice fella. But since he's been on, all the ex-cons have come in going, he was lovely. The prison should use him as an example and teach and coach people to be like him.
Do you know what?
To show respect.
Exactly right. Because see people like him, prisons were full of them back then. And what they are is, I'm a prison officer, but I'm also a fella.
A decent fellow who gets
I know the apple.
Yeah.
And those people that understand us, because I've never been an us and them sort of bloke, they keep everything moving forwards. And see someone like George Shipton, he might walk in on me having a joint in a cell. He probably would have been, listen, I didn't see that. Fucking keep your door shut. You're stinking the fucking landing out. And you can come and nick me, but what's the fucking point?
Yeah, I agree.